You know the feeling. You're getting sick, and suddenly your favorite blanket feels like sandpaper. Your t-shirt feels too tight. Even your own skin feels bruised when you press on it, like you got hit by something, except you didn't. This usually shows up before you even realize you're catching a cold. So what's actually happening here? Why does skin that hasn't changed at all suddenly feel like it's under attack the moment your body senses illness? The answer involves tiny signaling proteins moving through your bloodstream, quietly turning up your body's pain volume on purpose. Here's why your skin hurts when you're getting sick, and why that pain is actually your body trying to help you. Here's what makes this so strange. This feeling almost always arrives first, ahead of the cough, ahead of the congestion, ahead of any sign your body is actually fighting something. Your skin has no injury, no rash, no damage anyone could point to. It is the exact same skin that felt perfectly fine yesterday. So the real mystery is not what's wrong with your skin, it's what your body is quietly doing to your nervous system, on purpose, before you even know you're sick. And that answer starts somewhere you would never expect. The moment your immune system spots something it doesn't recognize, a virus, a piece of bacteria, anything foreign, it doesn't wait around for you to notice symptoms, it reacts instantly. Deep inside your immune cells, a release gets triggered, sending out tiny signaling proteins called cytokines. Think of cytokines as messengers with one job, spreading the word that something is wrong, and spreading it fast. And fast is the key word here. These proteins don't stay local. They pour into your bloodstream and ride it like a highway system, reaching tissues across your entire body within minutes. This is exactly why the ache you feel isn't isolated to one spot. It's not like a sore muscle from a workout, confined to one area. It's everywhere at once. Your shoulders, your back, your skin, all at the same time. That's the fingerprint of a blood-borne signal, not a local injury. Nothing hit you. A messenger just delivered the same warning to every outpost in your body simultaneously. Now here's where it gets specific to your skin. When those circulating cytokines reach the nerve endings, sitting just under the surface, they don't pass by quietly. They interact directly with those nerves. And what they do is genuinely clever, if a little uncomfortable. They lower the threshold those nerves need before they fire off a pain signal. Under normal conditions, a light press on your arm, the weight of a blanket, the seam of a shirt, none of that comes close to triggering pain. Your nerves basically ignore it. But once cytokines have been circulating, that same nerve ending becomes hair trigger. The bar for what counts as painful just got moved way down. So that light press now reads as bruising. Not because there's damage, because the sensor got turned up. This is the exact mechanism behind pressing on your skin during a fever and feeling like you got hit by something. Nothing broke. Nothing tore. The tissue is structurally identical to how it was yesterday. What changed is the sensitivity setting on the nerves, reporting from that tissue. It's less like an injury and more like someone turned the volume knob on your body's alarm system from a 2 to an 8. And here's the part that reframes the entire experience. This isn't a malfunction. It isn't your body glitching under stress. It's a deliberate, evolved response. Long before humans had beds and blankets and sick days, this mechanism served an obvious survival purpose. It made injured or infected bodies stop moving. An animal that feels sore all over is an animal that lies down, conserves energy, and stays out of danger, while its immune system does the actual work of fighting the threat. That urge you get to just lie still, avoid being touched, avoid unnecessary movement, that's not weakness. That's the system working exactly as designed, pushing you toward the one behavior that gives your immune response room to operate. Fever adds another twist to this story. When your body raises its internal temperature to help fight off a pathogen, that heat doesn't just make you feel warm and sluggish, it also amplifies how reactive your nerves already are, stacking on top of the cytokine effect. So during a fever, you're often dealing with two layers of sensitization happening at once. The direct nerve sensitizing from cytokines, plus the added reactivity that comes from the temperature shift itself. That combination is why the skin sensitivity during a feverish illness can feel especially intense compared to a mild case of just feeling run down. This double layer also explains something oddly specific, why a blanket that felt cozy last week suddenly feels like sandpaper tonight. The fabric hasn't changed texture. Your skin hasn't grown new nerve endings. What's different is that the same pressure, the same light drag of fabric across skin, is now crossing a much lower threshold before it registers as irritation instead of comfort. A shirt seam that used to be invisible to your nervous system is now impossible to ignore. Ordinary contact hasn't become extraordinary. Your nerves have just become far more willing to sound the alarm over it. One more piece worth understanding is the timeline of this response. In a typical cold or short viral illness, this sensitization tends to spike early, right as your immune system first detects the threat, and then gradually fade as your body brings inflammation back under control. That's why the sensitivity often shows up before other symptoms, and also why it tends to lift within a few days once you're on the mend. But this same system behaves differently when inflammation doesn't fully switch off. In situations where inflammatory signaling stays elevated over a longer stretch of time, that heightened skin sensitivity can also linger longer than expected, rather than following the usual quick rise and fall of a short illness. This contrast matters because it shows the sensitivity itself isn't random or permanent. It tracks directly with how long the underlying signaling stays active. Through all of this, one thing never actually changes: the physical structure of your skin. No inflammation under the surface that you can see, no tissue damage, no injury site. The nerve endings sitting there are the exact same ones you had last week. What shifted is invisible, a chemical signal circulating through your blood that quietly turned their sensitivity dial upward. Your skin became the messenger for an alarm that started somewhere else entirely, deep in your immune system's decision to respond to a threat. Here's the good news buried inside all of this: the same system that turns your pain volume up also knows how to turn it back down. Cytokines are not a permanent setting, they're a temporary broadcast. Once your immune system has done its job and the threat is neutralized, those signaling proteins stop pouring out, levels in your bloodstream drop. And as they drop, the nerve endings that had been sitting on a hair trigger slowly reset back to their normal threshold. That full body ache that showed up out of nowhere before your other symptoms even started, it fades the same way it arrived, quietly, from the inside, without you doing anything special to force it. Which raises an obvious question. If the system resolves on its own, what's actually useful for you to do while it's happening? The answer isn't to fight the sensation or push through it like it's an inconvenience standing between you and your normal day. The answer is to work with the alarm instead of against it. That urge to lie still, to avoid unnecessary contact, to want fewer textures against your skin, that urge is not you being dramatic. It's your body's built-in cue, telling you exactly what environment it needs to do its job efficiently. So when you notice that unusual skin sensitivity showing up alongside other early signs of getting sick, treat it as reliable information, not an inconvenience to override, but a signal worth listening to. That can look as simple as clearing unnecessary physical demands off your next 24 hours where possible, choosing softer fabric over stiff, reducing how much your body has to physically brace against the world while the immune system is busy running its response in the background. This reframe matters more than it sounds like on the surface. So much of feeling off in your body comes from treating every uncomfortable sensation as something gone wrong, something to push past or override. But this particular sensation isn't your body malfunctioning. It isn't betrayal. It's your immune system doing exactly the job it evolved to do, using discomfort as a deliberate tool to slow you down at the exact moment slowing down helps the most. Once you see it that way, the ache stops being a mystery and starts being a message. And this is worth actually testing for yourself, not just accepting on faith. The next few times you feel this specific sensitivity creeping in, the shirt suddenly feels wrong, the blanket edges feel sharper than they should. Pay attention to what happens on the days you genuinely rest compared to the days you push through your usual routine anyway. Notice whether that irritation with fabric and contact seems to ease up faster when you give your body the stillness it's asking for. This isn't a promise of a faster recovery or a guaranteed timeline. It's simply a pattern worth observing in your own body, because most people never make this connection. They chalk the ache up to randomness and never notice it's actually responding to how much they rest. So the next time your skin aches during a cold, before you even see another symptom, remember what's actually happening underneath. It is not betrayal. It is not your body turning against you. It is your alarm system whispering the exact same message that blanket already told you the moment it started feeling unbearable. Stop, rest, heal. Your skin was simply the first messenger to arrive. And here's the last piece worth sitting with. Choosing to do less in that moment isn't laziness, even though it can feel that way in a culture that rewards pushing through everything. It's cooperation. Your body already started a process designed to protect you, and giving it room to finish that process without added strain is simply working alongside a system that was built, quite deliberately, to keep you safe.